This Fetty Wap release. I guess he was released and booked again.
City Field. It was during a music festival in the afternoon before he performed. He's one of 6 indicted for conspiracy to distribute more than 100 kilograms of controlled substances on Long Island and in New Jersey. And those arrested also include a New Jersey correction officer. Officials say Fetty Wap and others involved distributed deadly and addictive drugs, including heroin and fentanyl on Long Island, deliberately contributing to the opioid epidemic.
Fetty Wap just walked out the feds on January 8, 2026, after serving only 3 years of a 6-year drug trafficking sentence, and the streets are already talking. Rumors exploded the same day, with people claiming he snitched to get that early release. Then, out of nowhere, new clips dropped showing his ops catching him slipping. Now everyone's asking, did this happen because he cooperated? Was it payback? Here's exactly how this whole thing went down. His real name, Willie Jr. Maxwell II, officially stepped out from federal custody that morning.
Right.
Homie was supposed to be locked up until 2029, but good behavior credits and federal time reductions got him out early.
Right.
Bureau of Prisons didn't just open the doors, though. They transferred him to community confinement, basically house arrest with tight rules.
The multi-million-dollar drug distribution used Suffolk County as their home base. We're told the defendants would get drugs on the West Coast and use the U.S. Postal Service and drivers with hidden compartments to transport the drugs across the country to Suffolk County, where they were stored. Fetty Wap's role, according to officials, a kilogram-level redistributor for the trafficking organization.
Fetty's now under supervised release until November 2035, and the feds are watching every move he makes. The restrictions are strict as hell. Random drug tests whenever they feel like it. He can't even open a bank account unless the government signs off first. They want to track every single dollar that hits his hands. No drinking, no unprescribed meds, and he can't just dip to another state without permission. He's got to check in constantly, and they can slap an ankle monitor on him at any time. These ain't suggestions from his P.O. They're federal orders. One slip up, and he's right back behind bars. Supervised release ain't freedom. It's just doing time with a little sunlight. Soon as he got home, Fetty jumped on IG stories to show he was back. Then he dropped a quick statement thanking the people who held him down. By that afternoon, videos started flooding the internet. Fetty Wap back in Jersey, surrounded by family, friends, and day one supporters.
What seems like damn near just a couple of years ago, because it was, holy smoke, we seen 4 letters pop up. This one. That's from his official page. Then he goes on.
The biggest clip showed a whole crowd giving him a standing ovation. Folks yelling 1738 like it was 2015 all over again. The vibe was nothing but love and energy. No drama, no hate. Just the hood showing respect to someone who'd been gone too long. But before we talk about the celebration, we gotta rewind to how Fetty even ended up in this mess. His road to the feds didn't start overnight. It was a long buildup of choices, risks, and consequences that finally caught up with him. Back in October 2021, Fetty Wap got snatched up at Citi Field in New York. And trust, that move was no coincidence. He was supposed to hit the stage at Rollin' Loud NYC, one of the biggest hip-hop festivals on earth, with thousands of fans waiting. Instead, the feds pulled up deep, arresting him and 5 others in an indictment that dropped in Queens. The timing was strategic. They wanted to make a point. That arrest was a public warning to every rapper playing with the wrong crowd.
I'm gonna write this. I want to thank my family, friends, and fans for the love, prayers, and continued support. It truly means everything to me. Right now,
fame don't save you when the feds step in. According to prosecutors, Fetty was part of a bi-coastal crew pushing serious weight from California to New Jersey and Long Island between 2019 and 2020. The operation allegedly moved over 100 kilograms of cocaine, heroin, fentanyl, and crack. That's major trafficking, not street-level business. The feds had this thing under surveillance for months. This wasn't no traffic stop or random bust. It was a full-blown federal operation. When they finally swooped in, They seized $1.5 million in cash, stacks of drugs, pills, fentanyl, plus weapons and ammo. That's how deep it ran. This wasn't some corner hustle. This was organized, heavy-duty movement across states. And that's the setup that landed Fetty Wap where he was, until this shocking early release brought him right back to the headlines.
My focus is on giving back through my community initiatives and foundation, supporting at-risk young children by expanding access to education, early tech skills, and vision care for young kids and students so they can show up as their best selves. I'm committed to moving forward with purpose and making a meaningful impact where it matters most.
This wasn't no small-time hustle. It was a coast-to-coast drug operation moving serious product across state lines.
Right.
At first, Fetty Wap managed to post bail and walk free while waiting for trial, but that freedom didn't last long. By August 2022, the feds came knocking again and snatched his bail, and the reason was wild. Reports say he allegedly threatened to murk someone over FaceTime, breaking his release terms in the most reckless way possible. Word is, Fetty flashed a gun during the call and called the other guy a rat, which basically meant he thought the person had cooperated with the feds. That was a major mistake. Judges don't play when it comes to stuff like that. Threatening witnesses while on bail is one of the fastest routes back to jail.
Yeah.
It instantly shows the court you're a risk to the community,
and
that you don't respect the system at all.
The Fetty Wap didn't get picked up by the police. He got picked up by the feds. And when the feds show up, that means the case been done for a minute. And that wasn't no traffic stop, wasn't no random raid. That was a long play. They had the phones tapped, they had people talking, they had routes mapped, they had numbers counted.
So after that mess, in August 2022, Fetty decided to plead guilty to one count of conspiracy to distribute and possess controlled substances, specifically over 500 grams of cocaine. That charge carried a mandatory minimum of 5 years, but the plea was a strategic move. He and his legal team knew what they were up against. See, fentanyl changed everything. Once that drug's name hits a federal case file, judges start swinging harder than ever. The opioid crisis turned federal courts into zero-tolerance zones. People are dying in huge numbers from fent overdoses every year. And the system treats anyone connected to it like they're fueling mass destruction. Fentanyl's power is no joke. A speck the size of a grain of salt can end a life instantly. Because of that, defense lawyers have a brutal time cutting good deals when fent's involved. Just seeing that word in the paperwork makes prosecutors go extra hard, and judges lose all sympathy.
But the judges stop playing, the deals get ugly, and time starts stacking. And Fetty Wap knew what time it was. Before the jury ever heard shit, he pled guilty. That ain't a flex, that's straight up calculation. That's knowing the evidence ugly and trying to limit the damage. The feds don't bluff when it comes to that F-ball either.
Fetty and his lawyers understood that perfectly. They knew going to trial was too risky. When the feds have wiretaps, bank records, physical evidence, and witnesses ready to talk, the conviction rate is basically guaranteed. Federal prosecutors win about 90% of cases. And when it's this kind of evidence, it's almost a wrap before it starts. So instead of gambling with his life, Fetty copped out, took the plea, owned up, and hoped to shave some time off with an acceptance of responsibility reduction. It wasn't about claiming innocence. It was about damage control. In federal court, when the evidence is stacked sky high, that's often the only smart play to avoid a double-length sentence if found guilty at trial. Then came sentencing day, May 24th, 2023 in Central Islip, New York. The judge handed Fetty 6 years in federal prison, followed by 5 years of supervised release. Since he'd already been locked up since August 2022, that time counted toward the 6-year term.
Got out because federal math kicked in. Time served, good time, BOP credits, that's how the Fed time worked. Now he's home, but the argument is just starting. Some people are saying, shit, he paid his debt, let him live. Others said, nah, hold on. We need to dig a little bit deeper on here.
Prosecutors even tried to twist his own lyrics against him. They brought up Trap Queen, claiming it showed his history in the drug game. The judge did take into account his remorse and family situation, but still decided to give him that 6-year bid. He ended up doing his time at FCI Sandstone in Minnesota from August 2022 until his release in January 2026, about 3 years and 5 months total. Now here's how he got out so early. In the federal system, inmates can earn sentence reductions through good behavior and programs under the First Step Act. His original release date was supposed to be 2029, but good conduct credits moved it up to December 2026. And then more credits plus program participation pushed it all the way to January 2026. That's how Fetty Wap managed to walk free, early, strategic, and just barely stand ahead of the system's grip.
Now, we was in the shop talking about the Fetty Wap case out of New Jersey. If 5 men on that case outside of him a conspiracy, he already had a domestic violence and a DV. Now, it was 220 grams of H and 10 pounds of fent and also the C. And this man got a sentence of 6 years. It's highly unlikely for a man to get that much less time for that amount of illegal substance in the federal system unless he's working. That's impossible.
Fetty Wap earned enough time credits to get transferred into community confinement nearly 11 months before his December 2026 out date, and that move shocked everybody.
Right.
The Bureau of Prisons didn't share all the details on how many credits he racked up, but the system's got its own formula for that. Under 18 U.S.C. Section 3624, federal inmates can earn up to 54 days of good time per year for solid behavior. On top of that, you can stack more credits by completing education courses, job training, or approved rehab programs.
Right.
All that time adds up and cuts the sentence down bit by bit. Now, back in 2022, Fetty's lawyer made something crystal clear. He's not cooperating with the feds. No testimony, no secret deals, no snitching. The plea he took was a standalone guilty plea, meaning there was no paperwork filed for substantial assistance and no statements against his co-defendants.
Right.
Right now, Fetty's sitting on house arrest in New Jersey under the supervision of the Philadelphia Residential Reentry Management Office, which operates under the Bureau of Prisons. His full release from federal custody is set for November 8th, 2026.
Oh, man.
But until that day comes, he's still living under strict federal eyes. Random drug tests, constant financial reporting, and travel restrictions. Every move he makes has to be cleared.
And I've been trying to tell these guys that you got to be in the system to realize the sentence you get. When certain stuff just don't weigh up, it's a mandatory 1-year sentence when you just get $5 worth of stuff. So you get anything over 5 grams, it's a mandatory 5-year sentence in the federal system. So how do a person get 5 years, 6 years, when it's mandatory 5 years for 5 grams? It's impossible.
Even though he's technically home, it's still federal time in disguise. But the moment that early release hit social media, the streets lit up with rumors. People started asking the same thing over and over. Did Fetty Wap cooperate with the feds? Did he trade names for freedom? Was his early release bought with testimony? The snitch talk came in heavy, spreading fast through the hip-hop scene. And let's be real, this type of talk ain't new in the game. Whenever someone walks free earlier than expected, people instantly start connecting dots that don't exist. In street culture, the label snitch ain't just an insult. It can end a career and put your safety at risk. In rap, that word carries real-life consequences, and once it sticks, it's nearly impossible to shake off. Thing is, that gossip first started back in August 2022, right after Fetty took the plea. Some fans, and even some industry voices, assumed that meant he must have cut a deal. The logic seemed simple to him. Why plead guilty unless you're trading info? But that's not how the federal system really works. A guilty plea doesn't automatically mean someone's cooperating. Far from it. In many cases, defendants take the deal because the evidence is stacked too high to fight. When prosecutors have wiretaps of you talking about moves, surveillance footage showing you linking with the crew,
his music went quiet. She went straight up. Nobody was listening to that shit no more. The hit stopped, the buzz dried up, the sound moved on. But by the time he touched the cell,
I don't think that because I was still listening to
competing
Fetty
with no new rappers. His ass was already done. So really, he's competing with his own self. So prison don't pause your music career.
No, I really
Like we
don't.
always see. It does erase a little bit of momentum, but the algorithm don't care about your case, playlists don't care about your struggle, and nostalgia only goes so far.
Bank records prove an unexplained cash flow, and multiple witnesses connecting you to the operation. Fighting it in trial becomes pointless. That's the situation Fetty was in. His lawyer said it straight back in 2022. He's not cooperating with the feds.
Right.
No snitch moves, no paperwork, no secret meetings. The man took responsibility for distributing 500 grams of cocaine, but he didn't testify against nobody and didn't give the government anything for a break. So while the internet keeps spinning wild theories,
Right,
the
crazy.
reality is simple. Fetty Wap's freedom came from time credits, good behavior, and strategic legal moves,
Right.
not from selling out his people. Fetty Wap didn't get any kind of cooperation discount on his sentence, and that's a major clue about what really went down. His 6-year sentence tells the story by itself. In federal cases, when someone cooperates, they usually get huge sentence reductions, like crazy short time compared to what the law requires.
Right.
People who help prosecutors, drop info, or testify in other trials often walk out with less than half their mandatory time. Here's how it normally works. If you cooperate, prosecutors file a motion for a downward departure, basically asking the judge to cut your time heavy. But Fetty, he got 6 years on a charge that carried a 5-year mandatory minimum, barely 1 year over the floor. That's
Right.
what regular sentencing looks like, not a thanks for helping discount. If he had really cooperated, he'd probably be sitting on a 2 or 3 year bid, not
Right.
6. That little bump above the minimum screams standard sentence, not snitch credit.
So the real question ain't about jail, it's about what's next. Do y'all think Fetty can come home and shake it up again? Or is this one of them times where the streets still respect you, but the gang had already moved on? Is this the comeback waiting to happen, or is the closure for a run that already ended?
Once Fetty touched down, though, the internet went wild with speculation. Social feeds blew up overnight. People posted non-stop, asking, did Fetty Wap snitch? The early release looked suspicious to some, like, how does somebody do only 3 years of a 6-year sentence and walk? But the answer ain't hidden deals, it's federal math, plain and simple. See, good conduct time and First Step Act credits are part of the system. Every federal inmate who plays by the rules can earn them. You stay clean, join programs,
Right.
take classes, or complete rehab training,
All that.
and those credits stack up automatically. That's how sentences get reduced.
All that,
Not
I'm
through
just saying,
backdoor cooperation, but through documented, earned incentives for good behavior. These credits aren't rewards for dropping names. They're the system's way of encouraging positive change behind bars. Still, the talk didn't stop there. Some online voices, including one ex-user who went viral, flipped the narrative, posting, "Forget the streets, forget the no snitch rules. Fetty Wap should be a role model." That
Right.
comment got major traction. People respected how Fetty handled his time quietly, didn't go public talking tough about the streets, and didn't stir up messy drama after his release. It showed maturity, not the usual chaos that follows a big-name rapper walking free. Over on Reddit, users broke it all down, separating snitching from self-preservation. One comment summed it up perfectly. Snitching is saving your own skin. I'm just surprised he only got 6 years. Basically, folks realize pleading guilty to minimize risk is not the same as cooperating against your people. It's strategy, not betrayal. And so far, no evidence anywhere backs up the snitch claims. Court records show no cooperation agreement, no government motions asking for sentence reductions, and no co-defendants' cases affected by any testimony.
Right.
The paper trail shows exactly one thing. Fetty pleaded guilty, took his standard 6 years, served over half, and earned legit time credits through federal programs. That's the process, not favoritism, not betrayal, just how the system runs when someone follows the playbook. People online love to twist it though. The common argument floating around is he moved 100 kilograms and he only got 6 years, so he had to have cooperated. But that logic skips a lot of important details. Federal sentencing isn't about rumors.
Right.
It's based on sentencing guidelines and individual accountability. Judges don't just look at the overall conspiracy. They look at what each person actually did. In Fetty's case, he had limited criminal history, no violent background, and took responsibility early by pleading guilty.
Right.
The entire operation might have handled over 100 kilograms total, but his personal charge was tied to 500 grams of cocaine. That's what the court used for sentencing calculations. Judges also weigh key factors like acceptance of responsibility, role in the conspiracy, drug quantity, and criminal past. So when you add it all up, a 6-year sentence makes perfect sense. It fits the guidelines, barely above the minimum, but not soft either.
Right.
Confusion online really comes from people not understanding how federal sentencing works. The 5-year mandatory minimum applied directly to Fetty's charge, and since his sentence was close to that, it means no cooperation bonus, no special treatment, just the standard time for his specific conduct. So while the rumor mill keeps spinning, the paperwork tells the truth. Fetty Wap played it by the book, earned his credits fair and square, and walked out when the math lined up. Nothing shady, nothing sneaky, just federal rules doing what they're designed to do. Fetty Wap got 6 years, just 1 year above the minimum, and that's totally normal. Nothing suspicious about it. Judges in federal court routinely hand down sentences that sit just above the mandatory minimum, depending on the defendant's role, record, and behavior. That small bump probably reflected his specific involvement in the operation. If Fetty had actually cooperated, his sentence would have been way lower,
Right.
like 2 or 3 years, maybe even time served.
Right.
Listen, man. Listen. Shout out to Fetty Wap, bruh. Shout out to him. You know, me personally on the music tip, I don't necessarily think it's over, but I think if he tries to go back and recreate that sound, I think that's gonna be gone. He can add elements of that shit, but the question is, who's going to embrace him? Who is good enough in the rap game to embrace him? Because if I'm Drake, Iceman ain't came out yet. Get Fetty Wap on the hook on the beginning song. Fetty Wap, you know what to do. First Day Out the Feds, part 2.
But he didn't get that. 6 years flat means no cooperation deal, no discount,
Right.
no favor. Yet somehow, snitch rumors kept echoing online, bouncing around social media like wildfire. But just because something gets amplified online doesn't make it true. The actual court documents and official records paint a different picture, one that completely contradicts all that he snitched talk. His lawyer publicly denied cooperation. Prosecutors never filed any kind of motion for reduced sentencing, and none of Fetty's co-defendants' cases showed even a hint of being affected by testimony, because there was no testimony at all. The 6-year sentence fits perfectly into standard federal guideline math, nothing shady about it. And here's what's even more rare. Fetty Wap came home without major accusations dominating his name. Usually when big artists walk out early, the snitch talk flies instantly. But this time, outside a few loud corners online, there weren't widespread credible accusations. That says a lot.
Right.
It shows those rumors probably don't have any real foundation.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
Since his
though.
release, Fetty's been focused on
Understanding.
rebuilding, not responding to drama. His statements talked about family, work, community, and making a positive impact. Real life goals, not internet beefs. These ain't the words of someone trying to prove street credibility. They're the words of a man who's been through serious lessons and is trying to do better. But there's still one question floating in the air. Does Fetty Wap actually face real threats now that he's home? Once you've been through high-profile cases, beefs, and time in the feds, danger can follow. So let's break that down. So far, no credible reports show any threats against Fetty since he came home on January 7th, 2026. Searches for danger or death threats only pull up the old 2022 story, the one where he made a threat on FaceTime against someone he called a snitch, which got his bail revoked. That's the only documented situation, and in that one, Fetty was the aggressor, not the target. He's had his share of conflict in the past, though. Back in 2017, things in his hometown Paterson, New Jersey got intense. There was a shooting linked to a local rap beef, and it allegedly involved Raheem Fuzz, a figure connected to Fetty's circle. It was a real street conflict, not internet drama. Guns, tension, and real danger. But that was years ago, long before his legal problems, long before prison. Since then, time has changed everything. Fetty spent years locked up. People from that era have moved on. Some caught their own cases, and others just left the streets behind. The beef seemed cold now. Nothing active, nothing brewing. Whatever was once there looks like it died down naturally. There have been some business-related tensions, though. For example, his former collaborator, Dice, reportedly filed a lawsuit over royalties tied to financial disagreements in the music game. But that's industry stuff, not street drama. Those things get handled in courtrooms, not in alleys. Money fights don't usually turn violent. They're about contracts, not conflicts.
Right.
Then came some family drama, and it popped off quick. Within 24 hours of his release, Ika, Keisha, and Leslie Louder, mothers of his kids, started going at him on X, formerly Twitter. They called him a deadbeat, throwing shade publicly. One post even said, "All those videos of him coming home, where's the one of him seeing his kids?"
Oh, man.
That's rough. But let's keep it real. That's domestic tension, not street beef. It's about co-parenting, accountability, and personal relationships, not violence. These are mothers calling out a father to step up for his children. That's emotional heat, not physical threat. It's messy, sure, but it's family business, not danger from rivals.
We don't give a damn about your personal life, bro. We don't. We don't. We care about a time in our personal life when your music hit for us and created a moment, and then we listen to it and now we get nostalgic about it.
Right.
We care about growth in your music. We don't give a shit about you, the person. You don't give a shit about us. You care about providing what the fans or people who support your music like, and the fans and supporters care about the music. That's the problem with these entertainers. Because not one point in time do y'all sit up here and really give back. Hell no, y'all don't. Y'all get sponsors, y'all get people to help out. Not saying that you should spend your own cash.
There's also been online criticism about Fetty's past in the drug trade. One post went viral saying he's the reason the youth is dying, blasting him for moving fentanyl. That's moral outrage, not a hit warning. People have every right to criticize his past
That's
actions,
crazy.
especially
That's wild.
given how deadly those drugs were. But that doesn't mean they're threatening his life. And if there really were threats out there, we'd see traces online. That's just how it goes now. The digital world exposes everything early. If someone was plotting something serious, it would have leaked through X, Instagram, or YouTube. That's where people throw subliminals and send warnings before things get physical. But all the recent searches show is celebration clips, family arguments, and commentary. No real danger signs. Even TMZ and the New York Post didn't hint at anything scary. Their reports focus strictly on his release details, his house arrest, and his future plans. Nothing about needing security, bodyguards, or protective measures. If major outlets smelled danger, they definitely highlight it. And the biggest proof? That welcome home video. Fetty was out in the open, big crowd, public celebration, no fear in sight. If he really thought people were out to get him, there's no way his team would have set that up so publicly. The fact he looked comfortable and relaxed around that many people tells you everything. He doesn't feel threatened. At this point, it seems Fetty Wap isn't running from anything.